So this video is about wildcard imports in Python, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit. One of the things that we tend to see quite a bit from a lot of the official documentation that comes from the major modules is we see, and tkinter is actually a classic example of this, but it's like one of many. We see that this kind of example, which is from tkinter import star, and then this is literally taken from the website. So I've copied and pasted this code straight from the website. And it actually runs perfectly fine. So if I hit the F5 button to run it in my Visual Studio Code over here, we get this little button popping up. It's on the right hand corner. I'll drag it to the middle. It's Hello World. It's their Hello World example, and then there's a little quit button here so you can quit the application. So that's all perfectly fine, and it all works well in this particular case. But what's actually happening here is this first line, on this line on line number 14, we've got a from TK input, from tkinter, from tkinter is how some people pronounce it, but I say from tkinter, import star, and that imports all of the modules. This star over here at the end of the sentence is a wildcard, and it's saying actually import all of the methods and attributes that are available in tkinter. Now, if I was just to replace this with this, which is import tkinter as tk, so instead of importing all of the methods and attributes, I'm actually going to import tkinter, but I'm going to use an alias. So this is known as actually tab. This is known as an alias. Now, I can just, if I spell it right, I can just import tkinter, but the aliasing in Python's quite cute, which means that instead of typing tkinter every time, we can just type tk. Now, if I remove the star from here, and just notice this, so the from tkinter import star, so I'm going to remove this line. In particular, I think if we look at line number 16, you'll see an underscore, like a squiggly yellow line pop up underneath it over here, which is now it's not recognized anymore. And the reason why is because the tk was actually a method of tk, or is actually a class inside of tkinter. So in order to import it now, I'd have to do tk dot. I'd have to use the tk. Now, this works exactly the same way. So we've now removed this star and we've put in an alias. So we've done import tkinter as tk. And if I hit F5, we'll get the same run. So everything should run perfectly in the same way, which is all good, all well and good. So just move that over into the middle, and we've got our same hello world, and we can hit quit again. Now, just over here, I guess one thing that we can take a look at is if I do TK and then hit the dot button, we can see all of the methods and attributes and classes and everything that's available, that was available in the TK module. For example, frame, and maybe some maybe some more common ones like get int. But if I keep scrolling down, image, there's a class there, label, last, left. Now, if just by like random chance we had something and we made a class and we called our class menu, if we didn't have this, if we just imported tkinter, like from tkinter, we just used the wildcard import, so we did from tkinter import star as we did before, menu would be automatically exposed. So if we created a class, so class, define a quick class, and we named our class menu, this is the problem that arises, is which class would actually be used. Is it now the class from tkinter, or is it the class that we've just created, our user defined class? Now, we don't have this problem when we use an aliasing. So now, or when we do a standard import. So now we do tk dot, and then menu is perfectly fine, and it pops up and comes along. But just in case, like, this is one example, and you might have tkinter and you might use it in a small script and you might never use it anywhere else. But here are some cases where, by the way, this is not just a problem in Python. This is the same problem exists in Java. I went to sort of go to the web and sort of why, like, great examples of why you shouldn't use it, and exactly the same thing came up in Java. And basically, one of the comments that came up on a Stack Overflow was that the only problem with this is it clutters your local namespace, and that's really what it actually does, is we get these name collisions. So if I move down and I do something like import numpy as np and import math as math, one of the things that happens is here in numpy we've got hundreds of methods and attributes available. NumPy is a very, very popular package in Python. So we got like many methods and attributes that are available for us to do. But one of a classic one that always comes up is np.py, which is pi, the value of pi. So we could print out now the value of pi. So p equals np.py. Now here we've got the math module, and guess what? In the math module we also have pi. So p1, say for example, equals math.py. But the equals so we'll call this p0 equals math.py and p1 equals math.py, and we could print out both p0 and p1. So print p0, and also we'll print on the same line, or we'll print it on the line below. We could do print p1. And I should just comment out, just make sure everything here is commented out, all of the tk, otherwise we'll get that running too. Now if we just do a print here F5, we'll just see down at the bottom inside of our terminal we're going to get both of the values of pi. Now they happen to be the same, but if they were different we would get a naming collision. And that's the point, is that when we start importing these modules that contain many methods and attributes, they'll have many commonalities, common naming things that are available. Just like we saw in tkinter, we saw something called menu, and we might have created a class called menu and then inadvertently written over one with the other, or created a naming collision accidentally. And here's another example, which is np.sum. So, and what does np.sum do? If we hover over it, np from numpy. So the numpy.sum, this numpy module, what does it do? If I can hover over it properly, it's the element, there we go, finally got it hovered over it properly. Basically it's array-like. It takes in an array and then it sums the elements of an array. Now sum is quite popular, so that comes up normally as a regular Python method. And again, like, these two methods now behave slightly differently, as in if I hover over this sum, it also does it. We can see that the documentation is slightly different. Now, it again probably may not create any errors for our simplistic stuff, but if something required a numpy array, you'd be needing to do a numpy sum as opposed to a regular sum. And if we had done an import, so again, we could have done from numpy import start. So let's just import all the methods and attributes and classes, whatever, everything that's available in NumPy. If we did that, we could just do sum. And again, the question is which sum is actually going to come about? Is it going to be the sum from our standard Python, or is it going to be the sum from our NumPy? So here it's a sum from our NumPy, and here as well, it's a sum from our NumPy. It's not the sum that we were necessarily expecting. So that's basically. Now, again, you might say that that's perfectly fine because I'm only going to use NumPy once or something like that, or I expected to use the sum function from the NumPy module. But as our code gets larger and larger, and we might even create in different modules the same so two different modules that we've imported ourselves, we might actually have a function that has got the same name in each of the different modules, but they're operating in completely different ways. And if we imported our own modules also with this wildcard, then again we would just open up ourselves for a name collision. So if in order to avoid what somebody here has referred to as cluttering up the local namespace, so in order to avoid that, let's just avoid wildcard imports. They're great for tiny little scripts. They're used for examples, but actually they're considered, at least for bigger projects, to be problematic in the sense that they could create naming collisions, and you're quite likely to get them if you're using like standard naming conventions for certain things. So just avoid wildcard imports. That's the message from this little video. If you found it useful, if you've got any reasons why you should use it or any counter examples and so forth, other than kind of like the boilerplate ones that I pointed out, um, then by all means put that in. If you've got any comments that you'd like to put your comments in. And if you like this video, hit the like button and also hit the follow button, and also hit the like button and follow button even if you don't like this video. And that is basically wildcard imports from Python.